Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome our guests, especially the former Prime Minister of Poland, and I would like to welcome our guests who joined us from the United States, the home of CPAC, and I would like to welcome everyone who thinks that they can do something for the society of common sense and conservatism in the country they live in and which we serve. And we would like to welcome everyone in Budapest, the city of freedom. It was the city of freedom in 1848 when the Hungarian freedom fight was destroyed by Austrian troops, and it was the freedom. It was the city of freedom in 1956 when we had to face Soviet troops. It was the city of freedom in 1989. During the change of regime. And we joined the EU 20 years ago, and we thought that this is actually joining the institutions of freedom. But now, 20 years later, once again we see that we are the representatives of freedom in the EU. We have to fight for our freedom, and we are the ones who think that everyone should be able to express their opinions. And now the situation has fundamentally changed in Brussels. We cannot hold protests or actually conferences in Brussels once these are organized by parties who are respecting traditional values. And now what we see in Europe is that freedom is at risk in Europe because the liberal mainstream ruling over Europe think about freedom the same way as communists did. They also think the same about laws and the rule of law, which they think is only serving their agenda. And we should be worried about Europe because we see that the countries which should be strengthening European identity, where the majority of society is respecting common sense, cannot join the EU for years or decades. They are saying that once in the future they can join the EU, but no matter what kind of conditions they fulfill, there is no political will for joining, accepting them in the EU. And now we see that the society has fundamentally changed in Europe. And it's much harder for conservative, common sense forces to win. And now I think it's safe to say that the future of Europe and the guarantee for the survival of Europe is in Central Europe, and we would like to lead by example here in Hungary. Because we know that a conservative government can be successful here. We've won many elections over the last 14 years. We gained the trust of our citizens, and we hope that in the elections ahead, the municipal elections and in the EP elections, once again we can prove that the majority of Hungarian citizens are on the side of common sense and conservatism. US is an important ally of ours. This is an open struggle in the US, and the chances are changing. And what we see is that if everything goes well, from the January of next year, there is going to be a conservative president and a conservative House of Representatives and Senate in the US. And that's what we want. We would like to see a US administration which can cooperate with Europe and Hungary, where they are not criticizing their allies in reports about human rights, where they are naming issues which are non-existent, And we would like to have a cooperation where it's clear that in the US there are more people who are believing in conservatism and Christianity, and who think that common sense should be the base of all our decisions in our everyday life. And that's why we are wishing all the best luck for you in the November elections, because that's our best interest as well. And last but not least, I would like to raise your awareness to the fact that Hungary is a good example in the sense that if you take a look at facts and figures based on objective results, and you would like to evaluate our government based on that, you see great results. We managed to actually reduce the number of people living in deep poverty by half, and we see that minimum wage is actually 3.5 times higher than 14 years ago, and much more people are working than 14 years ago in Hungary. And this economic policy that we started provided opportunity for many people who were far away from the labor market before. And that's why I would like to raise your awareness to the fact that a conservative government can be successful, and if it is successful and authentic, then the citizens will trust it. And we hope that a conservative turn of events will happen in Europe and in the United States, and the next time we meet our friends who are here today as representatives of opposition parties will be government officials next year. And in this hope, I wish you a fruitful conference. And I also would like to say that this process, which started with CPAC being organized outside the US, will continue. The Center for Fundamental Rights is a great example in this sense, and it's no longer just an experiment, but it's an event which has proven itself, a big event where you can meet the conservatives of Europe. Best of luck. Thank you very much for the invitation.